not only understand the schizophrenic nature of a system that is currently folding in on itself and imploding, but we also understand our traditional systems that brought us into our relationships with power. And one of the things that we were always acutely attuned to was our relationship to nature and the seasons and the new beginnings and the endings of our natural environment. Okay? So wherever you feel that nature resets itself is probably where your new year should begin. But let's get into the financial aspect of what I was speaking about before, and that is dealing with our Odu of EDOC, which is spelled IDI-OSE. It is the 121st Odu, okay, 121st Odu, EDOC. All right, and of course, as I try to tell people sometimes, and hopefully they listen some of the time, and the other times it'll catch up, you can't really read Odu if you have not been built and conditioned to do so. It's not just like reading a biblical verse and praying for enlightenment of the Holy Ghost and receiving it, and now you understand what is being said. The Odus, one Odu itself can take a lifetime to decode and decipher, and more importantly, to interpret. So a lot of times I see on social networks and on online pages the interpretation of Odus by individuals who do not have a relationship with the Odus or the wombs of the cosmos as translated by the Yoruban culture, as well as the Islamic culture, as well as the Igbo culture. Odu is not exclusive to Nigeria. Okay, Odus exist all over the world in different formats with different names. You have Ifa. So the information I'm going to give, you can find other places. It may be called something different, but it is other places. None of these findings and these calculations were derived in any person's backyard, okay, in Nigeria or anyone's kitchen, and then walked and spread all over the world. As I know many of our mythology and folklore tells us, we have to respect the field of consciousness that exists between individuals who are seeking higher awareness and higher goals. And those of us who are doing that, hopefully if I can count myself as one of them, we are connected over many, many, many miles. So imagine how that was at a time when there was not the interruption of electromagnetic waves given by cell phones, cell phone towers, satellite, in order to create another reality for us. When you're dealing with the ED, the sign of ED, you know you're dealing with it's a female Odu, whereas Ose is a male Odu. Okay, so this is good balance for us in this time. But ED deals with that astrological sign of Cancer, okay, as being dealt with this moon energy, symbolized by a woman's buttocks, right? So what does that represent? That represents our foundations. So it's an important time now for us to pay close attention to the maintenance of foundations, because it's just like termites. Termites will eat at your foundation, or groundhogs, so forth and so on. All right. So you want to be very, very, very particular about cleaning and keeping your foundation clear of any type of parasitical energies. Now, we're also speaking about your financial foundations. So some of the little things that you may not pay close attention to financially that seem small but seem kind of negligible. Maybe, how many trips you take on a weekend when you're going shopping. Maybe you can go to a strip mall as opposed to driving all over the place. You're burning up gas and not realizing, and you're creating a domino ripple effect with the universe believing that, okay, you just feel like wasting money. Okay, no problem. We'll just keep wasting it. Or maybe even leaks in your house. Water leaks are very critical when you're dealing with this particular Odu of EDC. You got to check for if you have a leaky faucet, leaky toilet. Now's the time to fix them. Water leaks represent leaks in your finances. Okay. Also, the other energies that we'll find present are the Iyami, the Ibeje, and the Igba Oduiwa. Okay, some of you may not be familiar, but the Igba Oduiwa deals with kind of like physical experiences, all right, and especially as it pertains to violence. This is where we get the aspect of accidents. Okay, so it's real important in this time, where we have the coming together or the alchemical energies of water coming together along with fire. Okay, now let's think about what happens when water comes together with fire, right? Now, first of all, the first thing that we know that happens is that life comes forth. We have steam. And even though Ose represents earth, it's an earth energy, and Od is a water energy, there's actual fire in there because of that mercury. And remember, mercury is another name for melanin. Okay, because of that fire energy, there's fire in there as well. But when you have those two coming together, you have the formation of things. Okay, when you have water and earth coming together, this is how bodies are formed, through that mud. Okay, so that's also you coming in as landlords and what needs to be done, not only to protect the land and protect the things that are on the land, but it also deals with us learning in this season. This is the season as based on our finances where we need to focus on family. Okay, we really need to focus on family. And I guess in this one, I'm probably more speaking to my male listeners, okay? For the male listeners, this is a time now where you need to cut back on, and females, but men have a different type of talent and ability to create family, okay? We can go out and acquire the women that we need in our lives, okay? This is a time to do that and to cut back from promiscuity. This is not a time that you want to be promiscuous in this year. I'm not telling you to be a celibate monk. I'm certainly not saying that. But I am saying that this is not a year for wasteful sexual activities. It will affect your money. Okay? So I'm going to say it again. This is not a time for wasteful sexual activities. It will affect your money. That even deals with masturbation. Okay, whether it's masturbating with yourself or masturbating with someone else. This is a time for creative finances, creative energy flow, and creative sexual intercourse. Okay, so you have to be focused towards creation, even if it's not the creation of another being, but certainly the creation of commitment and family with the people who you are deciding to engage with. All right, this is very, 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 if I could put to the 10x, important. Okay, but we have to be careful of potential problems that come from very small beginnings. All right, so you want to pay attention to the details. I know as spiritual people, so often we just have our sights set high. You know, I know that we see ourselves as having a great mission and doing great things, and it's not to say that we don't have that in front of us. But if you're driving and you have your headlights only focused on where your headlights are aiming, you will certainly hit something in the road that's right in front of your tires. Okay, so this is a time now to pull back from the focus on the big picture, and you want to start focusing on the smaller picture, on the microcosmic details. That especially deals with children. When you're dealing with the Odu of Idi Meji or Idi Se, you're dealing with the taking care of and the nurturing and the protection of children, or those parasites. So now children comes in that you put your hand to from the inside out. Okay. Now there's more that we could tap into on this particular Odu, but in this moment now I'm going to get to the 7 spiritual ways of being, we'll say, because I don't like to use the word rules that much, but the ways of doing and being for the coming 2014 financial year.
If you would be interested in having Chief Jugna Haru Yuya Assaan-ANU facilitate readings, classes, or a workshop in your area, please join us at www.meetup.com/Africa-Spirit-Workers and suggest a meetup in your area for others to attend. If you desire for Chief Jugna Haru Yuya Assaan-ANU to personally facilitate your meetup, he is willing to do that free of charge. However, there will be a small shrine donation suggested to cover his time and travel. Once again, check out www.meetup.com/Africa-Spirit-Workers for more details. And now back to our segment.
Yes, one and all, here we are back again with our final segment of the Anu Asafo show, bringing us into the year of 2014 on 1/1/2014. And what I'll be giving you are the 7 spiritual ways of being and ways of doing for the financial new year, the first quarter of 2014. That's what we're entering into, the first financial quarter. All right, so let's get right into it, because I know you're ready for this information and you're ready to get a little insight and maybe a little counsel and guidance from an elder on how we need to move in the next season, or this up and coming season that we find ourselves in. Number one rule for 2014 financial new year is to do your own work. Do your own work. It's not enough just to put forth rhetoric or memorize speeches or copy and paste pictures and postings from other people who have taken the time to come up with something insightful based on their experiences, their pains, their joys, and their chakra journey. And we know when we're dealing with the chakras, we're dealing with emotion. It's not just enough to plagiarize their information, also be able to copy and paste your poor decisions. We all make them, family. From time to time, we all make poor decisions. This is a part of the corruption of being human. But you have to be accountable for your journey. Your life lessons only come to you when you claim ownership over the originating seeds of your decisions. When you do not claim ownership, you don't get the lesson, and they tend to repeat themselves over and over again. Okay, number 3 rule for the spiritual rules for 2014 financial new year is living the flow. Living the flow. January 1st, 2014 marks the beginning of the first quarter of a financial year. While many are making workout and social resolutions, others are determining how to manipulate you, family. They're trying to manipulate the flow of your currency for the next 12 months. Okay? Currency is a flow. Currency is spirit. Just like you have electrical current, you have water currents, you have wind currents, you have spiritual currents, and you have financial currents. It's time to get into the flow of the current. It's very important to understand that when you're unsure of what part of the river to enter into, it is usually best to enter into where the water is most shallow and most tame. So we want to start by taking very small steps to get into the flow. Very small steps. Just dance. Play an instrument, okay, that you can play. Walk in nature. Eat live foods. Listen to live music. Watch a live performance. Live. This is how you come into the living flow. And that's what we want to do in 2014. Come into the flow of living. We are surrounded by artificial and contrived experiences. All right, we want to start moving into the living flow, and that will help to stimulate the flow of wealth into our life, as well as the flow of spiritual information and power into our lives. They're actually all connected. It's all the same energy. They come from the same place. Remember, your material reality is an expression of your spiritual subcontext reality. So if money is not flowing, spirit is not flowing. Understand that. Lesson number 4 for the spiritual rules for 2014 financial new year is listen. Listen. Those of you who are my students, I know you hear me say that all the time, especially when we're speaking on the phone or during readings. As one of my pet peeves, people who talk too much. Listen. With the advent of digital social platforms, the online do-it-yourself video sites, and easy to access online radio broadcasting opportunities, everyone now has a voice. And this is good in a sense because the playing field has been leveled, but at the same time, people who should not have a voice right now have one. Some people have to understand that this is your time for silence. This is the science of the notions and desires of the more slowly vibrating forces of things or individuals. Sometimes people will keep a personal circle of low vibration individuals in order to appease their own egoic mission to quote-unquote save them. And in truth, these low-vibrating entities or slow-vibrating individuals are nothing but that individual's own addiction to lower-order reality. So we say we want to save people, but oftentimes we're just addicted to them, and we want to live vicariously through them. Okay, so you got to move closer to that high life because it's blocking your flow of wealth and finances from the universe. You got to understand, just like it pays to be around winners, loser energy also rubs off. Have you ever noticed, I would ask, that the slow vibration in your people are not suffering the life's reality in the same way that you are? Most of the time, they're happier than you. And you have trouble figuring that out. Well, I'll explain it to you. Because what's happening, because they have a denser reality and a lower vibration, whenever you're calling forth spiritual blessings and array of ascension unto you, it goes to them first in order to help counterbalance them. So let's say if they have more negative ions inside of them, and then you start doing work in spiritual prayers in order to bring more positivity to you, but you have a fair degree of positivity already, the way the universe and atmospheric spirituality works is that it will go to balance what is imbalanced. So it will give you your positivity that you have done Ebo rituals and prayers for, and it would give them to the low entities who are in your circle so that they can balance up and raise to where you're at. And concurrently, it will lower you so that you can meet them halfway. Okay? So now's the time to live the high life. Shake away the low lives, and you have to understand that this is a one chariot ride, and that chariot only carries you. You can't take anyone else with you, not your child, your wife, your husband, your mother, your brother, your father. You have to go by yourself. Okay, rule number 6, spiritual rule for 2014, financial new year. Learn something about finances. Learn something about finances. It's a new financial year within a system that often postures itself in a diametrical opposition to or opposing posture towards those who would like to naturally ascend, or even a natural ascension of the planetary and extraplanetary force. So it would seem sensible, family, for a high vibrational, consciously aware individual to not want to define themselves by that same system. So how can that system define when your year begins or ends, or when your new world order begins or ends? In the same instance, this is the year for you to take control, the freeing or the liberating of the mental shackles and the cleaning of that colonialist that stands in the middle of your brain telling you what to do and when to do it, such as telling you to send Happy New Year text to me, knowing good and well I do not celebrate it. Knock it off. But anyway, I'm just playing. So now we're on to our 7th way of being for the 2014 financial new year. And we have to understand that this is the year of God. G-O-D, Gomer Az Debar. Okay, beauty, strength, and wisdom, or gold, oil, and diamonds, as I see it. 2014, 2 plus 0 plus 1 plus 4 equals 7. In our basic numerological system, 7 is the number of God. And as you all remember, I did a show on 7, the 7 seals, some time ago on Blog Talk. If you haven't checked it out, definitely please listen to the archives and listen to that show. I think it was pretty good. We actually got a lot of new students who came in on the heels of that show. I believe Living and Loving came in from that show. A new sister who's a student in the new spiritual order. But in any event, this is your year for self-actualization. So let's consider what our financial aspirations are and if they're achievable with our current lifestyle. Okay? Let's remove ourselves from the job or the entrepreneurial model for a moment, and let's think about lifestyle. If we go back to our infantile beginnings, we'll understand that one of the reasons that we have such wisdom as children is because we came just recently from the essence and from a place of infinite abundance, as people like to talk about all the time. Infinite abundance, right? But it's important in the year of God that we understand as God, we are creators. This is the Kuumbik responsibility coming from our Nguzu Saba, from our Kwanzaa, which is Kuamba, which means creativity. Okay, so the Kuumbik responsibility means that it is now time for us to get creative with our finances. All right, it's important for us to know basic financial terms, but understanding the aspects of self-defining and self-knowing. From one cell comes a great force in the form of a human being. So who would have known that from that one cell that was fertilized, that one egg cell, that this great human being would have come in the form of you sitting here listening to the show right now? Well, you knew. You were the only one who knew. So as it pertains to your financial aspirations and what you can actually achieve, notice I didn't say obtain. What you can actually achieve, you are the only one who knows. Okay, so what is it that you know of yourself in this exact moment that we're speaking right now? And that knowing, you should know, is directly linked to your understanding of the spiritual flow and the 6 other lessons that I spoke about in this particular segment. I have to say I've not met anyone, and I have to say this so you all listen very clearly on this one. I have clients who are multi-millionaires who are way Greetings, one and all. Here we are again with another Foundational Friday. I, your host and conductor, Yuya Assaan-ANU, Chief Jegna of the Anu Spiritual Order and Head Instructor of the Sadula House Spiritual Center. This is a wonderful time, of course, it being the beginning in the first quarter of the financial new year. What I will be sharing with you in this segment is the reading. Ifa has been consulted for the financial new year and the things that we need to be mindful of. Of course, we are now broadcasting on the Anu Asafo segment, and I am coming in as a special guest, hosted by our regular guest, and or more so by a regular host. And I am thankful for the time and opportunity to be here to speak to you all, to speak to my learning family, to speak to my listening family, and my family in love. This is a very critical time, as expressed to us by the Odu for this year. But we will be going through what it means in this new financial year, that particular Odu, and how we need to govern ourselves. And also I will be covering the 7 spiritual rules that will carry us through and that we need to focus and concentrate on for the year 2014 in its financial and Gregorian format. As I mentioned before, the new year doesn't begin for me until the spring, and in our Nigerian format, it doesn't begin until June. Okay, so we have to understand something that's very key and very critical. Many of us have returned to our spirituality, to our traditions, and to our old knowings as a form of liberation. It's one of the steps of liberation. One of the first things that was stripped from us in our enslavement process was our family formats. But not only did we lose our family formats, but we also were stripped of our languages. We were stripped of our mores. We were stripped of our culture. We were stripped of our divine principles and our ability and propensity to access deep thought knowing. Okay, so in your movement towards liberation and, of course, towards freedom beyond liberation, one of the things that you need to do is to reclaim all that was taken. You can be liberated, meaning that the shackles can be taken off, okay, and you can now be allowed the freedom of movement, but the freedom of your mind is something different. You can be in shackles and still be free, okay, or you could be liberated and still be in shackles. So what we're speaking about now is that new world order that brings forth the liberation that we all need. So I will be getting into those things in just a moment. But first, I want to hit some points of housekeeping that are very important. Again, on January 19th, I will be at Nicholas Bookstore in Brooklyn. I urge all of the family to come out and to support this event, to be a part of this event, and to be a part of this learning. Not only will I be tapping into, of course, our Orisha consciousness, but going much further and much deeper into the hands-on and how-tos of how we begin to self-actualize in this time and in this season. There's no more time for playing. There's no more time for the insanity that comes from what we call our glorification of our consciousness or the glorification of our learning paths. We have become insane in that, and we've become drenched and intoxicated in what we believe that we know. Now it is time for us to actually be the knowers and the doers and the movers and the shakers here on this small planet, or the planet Earth. So I urge you all to come out and enjoy this gathering with the ANU family. Meet some of your ANU family members face to face. Move it beyond the digital realm, the digital trap. So let's have a good fellowship. A good fellowship in 2014 Africanity. And it's important. I know you probably keep saying, why does he keep saying financial new year? Everyone is saying that this is the new year. But in fact, again, as I've said before, Kujichagulia, Kwanzaa principle, it's self-determination, but it also means to be self-defining. When do you define that your year begins? Based on your own sensibilities and inner wisdom. You cannot speak about banging against the system and going against the system and the ills and the malignment of the system that we would call the dominant one, but at the same time you move to the sways and the orders and the directives of that same system. That wouldn't really make much sense, now would it? Especially those of us who are reclaiming our identity that has once been borrowed, stolen, destroyed, and attempted to be killed. The new rising of that identity, or the new presentation of that identity, now claims and demands that we not only understand the schizophrenic nature of a system that is currently folding in on itself and imploding, but we also understand our traditional systems that brought us into our relationships with power. And one of the things that we were always acutely attuned to was our relationship to nature and the seasons and the new beginnings and the endings of our natural environment. Okay? So wherever you feel that nature resets itself is probably where your new year should begin. But let's get into the financial aspect of what I was speaking about before, and that is dealing with our Odu of EDOC, which is spelled IDI-OSE. It is the 121st Odu, okay? 121st Odu, EDOC. All right, and of course, as I try to tell people sometimes, and hopefully they listen some of the time, and the other times it'll catch up, you can't really read Odu if you have not been